In this video, we're going to be talking about direct to vendor. So direct to vendor for me is one of my favorite strategies. We use this all the time, and in my opinion, it gets you the best deals. And we're going to run through some of the benefits of doing direct to vendor in the slides. So for a start, you generally haven't got any competition. Now, obviously, there's people out there, trying to do the same thing as what we're sort of teaching here by letter dropping and trying to strike a deal with the vendors. But there's often the chance that you better go out and find your own deals, because a lot of the people doing this are looking for the bigger plots. So they're more approaching farmers or big landowners rather than just back garden plots, like what you would be advised to do to get your very first development. So to some degree, there isn't very much competition at all. For us, the benefit here is it cuts out the middleman, and we know exactly where we are in the deal all the time. Now we're currently going for an option agreement for 5 bungalows. So yes, we've got 5 vendors to deal with, and we've got a WhatsApp group that we communicate in, full transparency from all parties. But generally there's just going to be you and one vendor, sometimes 2 or 3 depending on how you structure the back garden plots. But direct to vendor, it's just a golden strategy for me, because you just can control the deal, you cut out the competition, and you can just basically build the rapport with the vendors and just be in control. We control them with option agreements. So these are quite standard agreements that solicitors can draw up, and it's just recognising the industry. It's trusted, not overly complicated. What I would say is target the area where you want to develop. So for us, our 5-house development is 6 minutes from where we live. And we've done that for the reason that we don't want to be travelling all the way around the country. We know the area well. We know that some of these plots have got big gardens, some of the properties, and we've strategically targeted these houses with a letter drop to get a response from the vendors, to then start building rapport by having meetings. What we do is we send letters on a monthly basis. So we'll create a letter. The letter goes out to the vendor every single month until at some point the vendor will either contact us to say, yes, let's talk more, or no, I'm not interested, clear off. To some degree, we'll still send them letters, and generally a little bit later on down the line, some people will then start talking to you. So again, it could depend on many things: where we are in the market, what point that vendor is in financially. They may have tried to get planning before themselves and struggled. They may just not want to give it away. They may want to just leave it for their kids, or they may just like using it as gardens. So lots of reasons why they would or wouldn't contact you. But the best thing to do is, when a vendor does reply to you, it's to spend many meetings building that rapport. So, don't just try and go in there one meeting, do the deal, and walk away, because that person doesn't know you. You've got to build the trust before you start talking money. Now, obviously, a lot of vendors will try and cut to the chase and say, look, how much are you going to give me? What's it worth? I've got a figure in mind. But that's for you to then go back and position yourself as the expert, show them the numbers, show them what you think you can get on the plot, and then demonstrate your expertise. I mean, this is a whole course on its own. There's just so much involved with direct to vendor. Like I say, it is as simple as strategically finding your plots, sending letters on a regular basis, building a pipeline, but then you get into negotiations, and then you get into the legals, and you get into doing the deals. This is just one element to finding land, and it's just way too much to talk in this, because there's hours and hours of videos that we could create out of this direct to vendor strategy. But one thing I would say to people is it's good to have a website for credibility, because one of the things that vendors will do is they'll look at your company name, and they'll check up on your social media. Remember how we mentioned no drunken pictures before, and they want to see who you are and what you do and what you represent. Have you got any credibility? Will you do what you say you're going to do? Is the trust there? So for the guys that I mentor in my masterminds and one-to-ones, one of the first things I always get them to do is build a brand, get consistently over your social media, position yourself as a developer, and then people can at least go to the website and check you out, build a bit of trust. And I think once you've got that, they're more likely to pick the phone up and come and talk to you to discuss in selling the land off. So one of the biggest benefits of working direct to vendor allows you to fund your deals 100%. Again, we'll talk about funding later on throughout the program, but this means that it's possible not to put any purchase funds in. You certainly won't need to put any development funds in because borrowing development finance is pretty simple. But there's ways of structuring these deals in order to do them without putting any of your own money into the deal. And for anybody, that is the holy grail, isn't it? Being able to go and cut out the middleman, build a good rapport, get planning on a plot, and 100% fund that deal without using any of your own money. But I would always advise people to start off with something with planning for their first development. It's not a quick strategy. I mean, yes, it can be as simple as the first letter you send out gets a response and you strike a deal, but that's going to be pretty rare. We tend to find that it's letter 3 or 4, so 3 or 4 months in from sending the same letter before you start getting the responses. And again, you've got to know how to speak to them on the phone, what to say at the meetings. But it is great for building the pipeline of deals because some of these will take time. The one that we're doing at the minute for the 5 properties, it's probably going to take us a year to complete all the legals, complete the planning, complete the title splits, and then get all the development funding in place to get to the point where we can start on site. And that's still pretty quick for a 5-plot development of 5 gardens. But we know we're working on this for a year's time away from pretty much shaking hands on that development. And that's fine for us because we've got other developments on the go. But for someone starting out, it's not your best place to start in a deal. But once you get your first deal over the line, this is something you want to be working on, maybe 10 or 20% of your time, start building this pipeline of direct to vendor deals. The good thing is you can go on the planning portal to find lots of vendors that are selling these deals, and just go straight to them. It's just the best way. I think one of the biggest benefits is that when you do strike a deal on the land, you're allowing for some extra profit in there, some uplift on the planning, so to speak, for your time and risk involved. If you're going to be spending 9 months working on a deal, spending some money on legal, spending some money on planning, with no certainty as such. Obviously, we calculate the risk. You want to be rewarded for it. And something like our 5 plots, we're probably going to make a sort of 80 to £100,000 uplift in the value of the land as soon as we get the planning permission, which we're pretty certain we'll get first go round because we've looked at the project. We'll talk about what to look for inland on our next section. So you'll see some of the things you've got to look out for and to be aware of. But yeah, you can make some good uplifts on the planning gain in the land.